Hey there, listeners. I am Joanne Lee Cornish, your truth bomb dropper in the world of weight loss, body composition, and mastering the art of rocking the body you've always deserved and dreamed of in midlife and beyond. Let's cut through the noise. Society tells us it's downhill from now on. We're told to embrace the middle-aged weight gain, embrace the muscle loss and poor health. If that's your vibe, then cool. But if you're ready to defy the narrative, then I am your gal. This podcast is a no fluff podcast where we break down the essential truths of body composition, toss around some practical tips, and dissect the latest trends. I'm not here to sugarcoat. I'm here to show you what's not just possible, but downright probable for you. If you enjoy this content, be sure to click the link in the show notes to explore how we can team up and kick mediocrity to the curb. I offer one-on-one coaching, my ever-popular group coaching programs, and my corporate Educate to Elevate program. Okay, let's get on with the podcast. Enjoy. Well, today, anything that can go wrong is going wrong, technology-wise. Oh my gosh, so I'm recording this on my phone because my main computer, the audio isn't working. So I go to my laptop and the battery just died midway through, so now I'm on my phone. So excuse me if this sounds a little crackly. I will try and improve that on editing. But today I would like to talk about thyroid. And I want to talk about thyroid because it's one of those hormones that actually affects our body composition. I want to talk about it because it's often disregarded the older we get. And I want to link it to an experience that I had with a client stroke friend this week. So, we have 50 hormones circulating around our body, but the 6 most influential when it comes to body composition, energy, and mood are insulin, estrogen, progesterone, cortisol, testosterone, and thyroid. And today we're going to talk about thyroid. So when we gain weight and feel a bit sluggish, we love to blame our thyroid. Oh, my thyroid must be off. My thyroid must be messed up. But are we accurate to do so? Well, when it comes to thyroid problems, there is hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism. So hyperthyroidism, an overactive thyroid, and that can show up as heart fluttering, chest discomfort, being out of breath with the simple activities, tremors, depression, withdrawal from usual activities. These can all be signs of hyperthyroidism. And with hypothyroidism, so underactive thyroidism, it can be memory loss, decrease in cognitive function, and sometimes that can be the only symptom. So I'll get onto that in a second, because that's how it can be often undiagnosed when people get older. So hypothyroidism, it could be memory loss, decrease in cognitive function, obviously the weight gain, sleepiness, dry skin, constipation, intolerance to cold. It can be linked to cholesterol. And for this, I'd like you to consider age. So if somebody is young, say they're in the 20s and they've got memory issues and that cognitively they're not quite sharp, they're gaining weight, they're really sleepy, they're constipated, they're cold all the time, it's going to be like, hey, you want to get your kid checked out. You want to get checked out. You must be sick. There must be something going on. But then take those same symptoms and give it to somebody that's like, say, 65. Memories are a little bit slack, they're gaining weight, they're tired all the time, they've got dry skin, constipated, cold. You're getting older. I'm just tired and fat and just getting older. You see how that can go undiagnosed. And again, sometimes for hypothyroidism, memory loss and a decrease in cognitive function is the only symptom. So if that's the only symptom for somebody 55, 60, 65 or older, you see how that's often just not addressed. So you have, I think they say 1 in 4 people in nursing homes have undiagnosed thyroid issues. Undiagnosed, not because of some lack of care, but the symptoms become vaguer with age, and there are fewer symptoms to see. Like it could be just a memory thing. So again, if a younger person has all these different symptoms, it's going to be concerning. But when an older person has just one or two, these symptoms are easily written off as just due to age. So let's think about all the symptoms. We're going to talk about hypothyroidism here. And the symptoms are weight gain, yes, constipation, although sometimes it's linked to bacterial overgrowth and then you can get diarrhea, but weight gain, constipation, high cholesterol, dry hair, loss of eyebrow hair, puffy face, slow heartbeat, joint pain, arthritis, cold intolerance, depression, dry skin, fatigue, forgetfulness, trouble focusing. The ladies can have menstrual disorders. Infertility can be an issue. Muscle aches. These can all be signs of hypothyroidism. So obviously we should get our thyroid checked with regular blood work. But hypothyroidism can start to show up before the actual thyroid hormones themselves change. And what we're looking for here is we're looking at TSH. So TSH stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone. So this is, if this number is higher, stimulating, the number's higher, so the body's trying to stimulate more thyroid. So in other words, thyroid is decreasing, so the body's TSH increases as the body tries harder to make thyroid. And what we call this is a subclinical thyroid. So the subclinical thyroid is the early mild form of hypothyroidism. And that's because it's only the level of TSH that is a little above normal. The other numbers haven't changed yet. And this can be disregarded. And this is how I'm going to link this into an experience with a client of mine in the last week or so. So a client of mine, early 50s, very highly driven, highly successful person, on their game, eats really well, only high quality foods, really is, gets up, walks an hour every day, trains 3 days a week, drinks the water, all this, does all the, does the sauna, does the red light, does all this stuff, and is dragging. Highly motivated person and runs their own business, but they're dragging. Also constantly got this layer of water on them, puffy face, puffy arms. I mean, she's even got to the point where looking at heavy metals and dentistry and all this stuff. And but the doctor's like, everything is good, all's good. Anyway, her doctor was dragging their heels a little bit. I think maybe they weren't available. So I was like, hey, my girl, my nurse practitioner, she sees people online virtually. Do you want to, you want to talk to her? So she booked an appointment. And now I'm not criticizing the other doctor here, just looking at the numbers with a fresh set of eyes. And this lady comes in and is like, oh, sweetheart, it's your thyroid. Your numbers are off. Well, the other doctor hadn't said her numbers were off. And now I'm going to describe this, but I'm not going to use the actual numbers, okay? I don't want to get into telling you on this podcast what your numbers should be. But for numbers' sake, her TSH was, I think, 1.4. Optimal is 1. It's been disregarded because it's like, oh, it's 1.4. It's just a bit over the normal. That can't be it. So thyroid off the table, what else can it be, kind of thing? Oh, we'll test you for this and test you for that, and we'll give you a liver cleanse, we'll test you for this. But with a different set of eyes, this lady's looking at this number of 1.4 and said, okay, so instead of thinking it as a single digit, let's move that decimal point and make it into double, triple digits. So instead of thinking, oh, this lady's at 1.4, not optimal is 1, think of it as like 140 and optimal is 100. Now that difference seems more alarming. Oh, I should be at 100, but I'm 140. That seems more, think of it like blood glucose, right? So your blood glucose, you say you want it to be 85, or let's just say 100. and your blood glucose is at 140, that's alarming. That's way too high. But when we're looking at in terms of thyroid stimulating hormone, it was like, oh, it's just 1.4. It's just 0.4 of where it should be. No, 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 no. The difference is the same. It's huge. So this, just by reframing it, this doctor was like, whoa, well, hold on. This is why you're dragging. This is why you're puffy. This is why you're retaining water. This was also showing up with elevated liver enzymes. And again, this lady eats squeaky, squeaky clean. But if your thyroid's affected, metabolically, everything's sluggish. So even in this super healthy creature, it was showing up with elevated liver enzymes. And it just seemed like this puzzle that the doctor was like, oh, let's try this, let's try that. And a fresh set of eyes. And it was startlingly obvious, like, whoa, your TSH is way too high. It was 0.4 off. And when they reframed it, instead of saying, 1 to 1.4, think of it as like 100 being optimal, and now it's 140. Now it just reframing it like that, the issue became more obvious. So the point of this, excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold. The point of this podcast is twofold. I can talk about thyroid for a long time. I can talk about T3, T4. I can talk about reverse T3, the antibodies and all that stuff. But for the purpose of this podcast, I want you to know that as we get older, thyroid does become more of an issue. It isn't just an excuse that some people have, like, oh, my thyroid's off. And hopefully understanding some of the symptoms to look out for. It isn't just weight gain. It can be cold intolerance. That's a big one. And in this lady's case, it was puffiness, water retention. Often underdiagnosed. And as we get older, we might just have one symptom of it. It might just be our memory. And again, when we look at our blood work, when our numbers are just a little bit off, quote unquote, it can be disregarded. So the first number you want to look at, obviously you want to look at all your thyroid, but the first number you want to look at is if you're thinking things are changing, if you are relating to any of those symptoms I spoke about, then the first thing is look at your TSH. And is it above normal? And don't disregard it if it is, because that's when your symptoms start to occur. And if you're a little bit older, like me, the symptoms might be less, and they might easily be disregarded as, oh, I'm just getting older. Don't ignore that. So that's just an overview of thyroid. I'm looking at my notes here, and I should probably do a much longer podcast on this because, well, in fact, let me say this. If anybody does want the full video on this, email me, joe@theshrinkshop.com. It'll be in the show notes, and I will send you a Dropbox link to my video on thyroid, which comes from my Mastering Midlife program, or I can send you the notes. But for today, the message is, if you're some of those symptoms can be disregarded as age. You may only have one or two of the symptoms, and in your blood work, don't be blasé when a number is just slightly off. It counts. Now, as a plug going forward, excuse me, got a little bit of a cold. Plug going forward, what have I got going on? So we've got the Peak Week 5-day shred starting on January the 12th to the 18th. 5-day program. It's epic, great results. You want to counteract the damage that you maybe did it over Christmas and New Year, then jump in. It's 5 days. It's a great program. That is, what is that? That's January the 12th to the 18th. Then January the 19th, I'm doing my Victory Vault. Now, the Victory Vault is a 2-week program about clarity and commitment for your goals in 2025. I'll put the link in the show notes. I only run this program once a year. It's kind of a tough love program about what you want, how to achieve it and who you need to be and some of the non-negotiables and behavioral changes we need to assess and implement going into the new year. It's a fantastic program. I learned so much just when I wrote it. So that's going to start January the 19th to February the 1st. A 2-week program, it's only $249. I should change that price. 5 live coaching calls, full access to me. That will change your year, that program. And then right after that, I'm going to do a power protein challenge. So that's going to start, I think, the 2nd of February. And it's going to be a 14-day protein challenge where all you have to do is hit the protein requirement. And all my coaching topics and calls will be based around understanding protein better. But we kick off the year with the Peak Week 5-day shred, and then there's the Victory Vault. Oh my gosh, please, 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 at least consider doing that program. It is so powerful. And what we discussed today about thyroid, that comes from the Mastering with Life program, where I discussed all the, not all, but a lot of the frustrations that appear with midlife and beyond. But for now, that's it. Hopefully I'm going to get my computer fixed or something's going to work. And hopefully this does sound okay.